support you while you're up there. We're privileged to have with us today our Governor, Roy Cooper. Governor Roy Cooper was born and raised in Nash County, where he attended public schools and worked summers on family farm before receiving his undergraduate and law degrees from UNC Chapel Hill. He practiced law for 18 years in Rocky Mount, where he and his wife Kristen raised 3 daughters. Cooper's mother is a public school teacher, which helped cement his deep commitment to public education. He taught Sunday school and tutored students in the local schools. Cooper entered public service in North Carolina State House and the State Senate, where he fought to raise teacher pay and reduce class sizes, and wrote North Carolina's first children's health insurance initiative. After being elected Attorney General in 2000, Cooper protected North Carolina families for 4 consecutive terms. He oversaw a sharp decrease in crime and fought for consumers by advocating for lower utility rates and putting predatory lenders out of business. As North Carolina's 75th governor, Cooper is working to make lasting investments in our future. He wants to ensure that North Carolinians are better educated, healthier, and more prosperous for generations to come. Since taking office, Governor Cooper has worked to create thousands of new jobs. He's focused on boosting public education, tackling the opioid crisis, revitalizing rural communities, and making sure North Carolinians have the training to fill better paying jobs that require more skills. Governor Cooper also underscored the need for continued recovery funding and work after Hurricane Matthew devastated parts of our state. He is committed to ensuring that state government looks like the people it represents, and he has appointed the most diverse cabinet in North Carolina history. Governor Cooper believes that when we work together, we can build a North Carolina that works for everyone. Throughout his service as a legislator, Attorney General, and now as Governor, he has worked closely with the sheriffs of North Carolina and with this North Carolina Sheriff's Association. Please join me now in welcoming the Honorable Roy Cooper, Governor of the great state of North Carolina.
Thank you, Sheriff Smith, and thank you to all of the familiar faces that I see out there and friends that I have made over the years. Always glad to be back here at the North Carolina Sheriff's Association. Sheriff Smith, thank you for your term of service here as president. Also look forward to working with Sheriff Clemens as he comes into office. Also want to thank our host sheriff, Sheriff Annette, who does a great job every time you guys come to New Bern. And I thank Eddie Caldwell and his staff, who stays in pretty constant contact with my staff concerning issues that are important to the people of our state. Having worked with you guys so many years, one of the things I've learned is that nothing is outside the scope of being sheriff of a county, the high sheriff, the chief law enforcement officer of the state, of your county. You are there to protect people from crime. You're there to help young people. You're there to respond in emergencies and disasters. And pretty much you're looked upon as the county leader, the rock that people depend upon. And I'm grateful for the work that you do in keeping our schools safe, and many of you providing school resource officers, sometimes out of your own pockets, from your own budgets to do that, but you know it's important. Last year I was with you, I gave you my mission statement for North Carolina, and I say it many times a day, but when you got a mission statement, I think it's important to keep repeating and make sure that everything you do works toward that mission statement. And mine is this: I want a North Carolina where people are better educated, where they are healthier, where they have more money in their pockets, and they have the opportunities to live a more abundant and purposeful life. That's it. I told that to a 3rd grade class the other day, and they really liked the more money in your pockets part of my mission statement. But we do want a more prosperous state. And one of the ways we do that is through collaboration and working together. And I think that law enforcement has exhibited that collaboration as well as anybody, particularly after 9/11. I had been Attorney General 9 months when that occurred. And previous to 9/11, and you still have some today, but among local, state, and federal law enforcement, there were a lot of turf battles and a lot of disputes over who had control of what. When our country came under attack on our soil, law enforcement got together and said, there's not enough of us. We got to work together and make sure we cover all the ground. Since that time, I believe we have seen law enforcement take this collaboration that was begun after 9/11 and expand it to other areas. Fighting the opioid crisis, making sure that our schools are safe, working together to fight gangs. It's critical that we continue with this collaboration. And I think there's a good example of that happened yesterday, Sheriff Steven, in the situation in Robinson County where local and state and federal officials came together to deal with illegal casinos and an unlawful law enforcement agency and to take action in that way. I think working together we have to make sure that we are as effective as possible. It's also important for all of us in law enforcement for us to recruit and retain the very best law enforcement officers. And, you know, it has never been harder to be a law enforcement officer, in my opinion, than it is today. And it's harder to recruit and retain law enforcement officers. So we've got to do more with pay, and we've got to do more with benefits. The 25-year retirement option that was put in this year is a good first step, but we know that we have a long way to go, and we have to work together to do that. I also have appreciated the fact that you worked together with me and my office concerning protection of crime victims. I know that there are 6 sheriffs that serve on the Governor's Crime Commission. You've got you've got Sheriff Barnes from Guilford, you've got Sheriff Blackwood from Orange, Sheriff Clymer from Gaston County, you've got Sheriff Coleman of Beaufort, you've got Sheriff Harrison of Wake, and Sheriff Stone of Nash. And those conversations that occur there are critical in our effectiveness. I also want to acknowledge the fact that you guys are still on the front line of fighting video poker and electronic sweepstakes. And you have had to weather a lot of criticism, lawyers taking you on, trying to use the legal process to stop you. But you know the damage that it can do to families. And I want you to know that I've worked every step of the way with you as Attorney General, fighting these things in court and working with you on it. I want to do the same thing as Governor. You've also been at the forefront of school safety, and as I mentioned earlier, many of you are providing school resource officers. I think it's critical to have these officers in our schools and to have them trained. They serve not only as a deterrent and protection. Many of these men and women serve as counselors and friends to these students. And they have a real positive effect on their lives, and they provide a positive example. And I provided additional funding for school resource officers in my budget. The legislature didn't include it this time. And we have to continue to make sure that you know that we value these school resource officers. And we got them this rapid deployment training, and you guys do it. And I've told this story many times, but I think it bears repeating at a time like this. As we train these officers in rapid deployment, because we know that events like Parkland have occurred, and we know that an indiscriminate shooter can pop up at any time in any county in this state. And you know
that when you have an indiscriminate shooter, that the first few officers on the scene have to step up and do what they're trained to do. And when this rapid deployment, when we started pushing it out after Columbine, when we knew that surround and contain wasn't what we needed to do anymore, could go around to the training and I'd talk to these officers and I'd say, here we go again, asking you for not enough money and not enough benefits to learn one more thing to put your life on the line to protect people. And I say, and this is absolutely true, to a person, those men and women told me they were ready, they wanted to learn, they wanted to be there in the event that this happened. So thank you to all of your school resource officers who do the good work. We need more funding for school safety. We need more for school structure safety. We need more for mental health in our schools. We need more counselors. We need more school nurses. Our kids need this help. We need to be able to spot people who may be in trouble. There's some proposals that I'm supporting in the General Assembly that would give us more tools to help to stop that. I wanted to tell you too, finally, that I appreciate your working collaboratively on fighting this opioid crisis. There are a lot of people sitting in your jail cells that you know really, truly ought to be getting some treatment somewhere for substance abuse or for mental health issues. Law enforcement, always on the front line. You guys are the first ones to get to see people who have mental health issues, who have substance use disorder issues, and your options are too limited. We need to have other ways to deal with this. We need to keep going after the drug suppliers and the drug traffickers and the drug kingpins. But we need to reduce the demand for this stuff. Because when you talk to that mom who's had a kid who overdosed, when you talk to that employer who's trying to get people hired for his jobs and too many people are failing the drug test, when you see how this hurts families and hurts the economy, you know that we need to do something about it. We need to provide more treatment to reduce the demand. And I believe that you guys could make a difference. And this is an issue that has been controversial, but I'm going to tell you this, I think this is something that you ought to adopt with your association. If North Carolina would accept the federal money that is available to us, about $3.5 to $4 billion a year, to ensure 600,000, 650,000 more North Carolinians with health insurance, including mental health and substance use disorder treatment. That mostly goes for working North Carolinians who are making a little bit too much to qualify for it now. To create 40,000 new quality health care jobs in our area that would help rural areas and help keep rural hospitals afloat. That would help private employers, because when you reduce the number of indigent people, your insurance rates are positively affected, and this has been shown in the other states that do it. When we're already paying tax money to Washington that we're not drawing back down, and when we have the opportunity to just simply say, yes, we will expand Medicaid, and I've already worked it out with the CEOs of the hospitals that they would take North Carolina's 10% responsibility. To me, it's a no-brainer, because you're going to increase the number of people who would have access to this treatment with tax money that we have already paid. Most of the other states have done it. North Carolina should do it. It will help us in our fight against the opioid crisis, and this is a bipartisan effort now, and we need to push it across the finish line next year. They're working on the Chambers of Commerce, and I think law enforcement would be a strong voice for this. I want to thank you for what you do every single day. Thank your deputies, your people who work in the offices. all the things that you have to deal with every single day, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. As governor, I want you to know that I support you. My office will support you. We will be there to work with you to make sure that this is a state that is safe for everyone and that works for everyone. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate the opportunity.